The man who leaves himself an exit will never go all in. If you hold on to a plan B, you'll default to it the moment plan A demands more. Keep a second door and you'll never have the resolve to shut the first one behind you. I'm not here to encourage you. I'm here to confront you with the truth. The only real way forward is to eliminate the option of turning back. The greatest men in history weren't men of endless choices. They made one choice and sealed it. There is a quiet kind of betrayal that lives in the minds of most men, not loud, not spoken, but rehearsed in silence. A hidden clause, a mental escape hatch, a backup plan waiting in the shadows. It parades as wisdom, disguises itself as strategy, but at its core it's just a net woven from fear. It's the blueprint of retreat, and the moment you build it, you've already signaled to your mind that failure is an option. You've already told yourself that you don't completely believe. You've already broadcast without saying a word that you never planned to burn the bridge behind you. No one ever became a force of nature while rehearsing ways to escape. No empire was built by a man with one eye on the future and one foot in yesterday. You can't step into greatness while keeping your escape door ajar. The man who keeps a way out plans to take it. The second you withhold a part of your willpower just in case, you split your force, scatter your aim, and weaken your claim to the very future you say you want. Your subconscious doesn't respond to surface talk. It listens to structure and repetition. When you say, "This is my mission," but secretly add, "and if it doesn't work, I'll do this instead," your subconscious hears only contradiction. It hears compromise, and compromise never produces command. Your mind needs one directive, clear, final, uncompromising, and that command must be backed not with hopeful thinking, but with visible faith expressed through action. This is carved into stone. Desire, when fueled by faith, refuses to recognize the word impossible. But hear me, faith cannot breathe where retreat is still an option. Faith withers when escape is on the table. Doubt and faith cannot inhabit the same vessel. If your faith is real, it consumes everything else. And until you build that kind of faith, one desire, no retreat, you will never touch the full depth of your own power. When you seal the exits, you start to discover who you truly are, and most men are terrified of that revelation. That's why they leave the second door unlocked. That's why they say, "We'll see how it goes." That's why they whisper, "I'm just keeping my options open," because they're afraid to find out who they become when quitting is no longer a choice. They fear pressure, but pressure is the purifier. Pressure brings clarity, sharpens intention, and ignites momentum. Look at the men who etched their names into history, not because they were the smartest, but because they committed past the point of reversal. Look at Hernan Cortez, who brought 600 men across the sea to conquer an empire. He didn't prepare for retreat. He didn't hedge his mission. He burned the ships. That fire wasn't a message to the enemy. It was a message to his own men. There was no return, only forward or death. And in that moment, they didn't fall apart. They rose. Look at Andrew Carnegie, who chose steel and nothing else. He didn't spread himself thin across industries. He didn't hedge his focus. He poured his time, energy, capital, and identity into one aim. He didn't keep the bridge behind him intact. He built forward with no reverse. That's how he didn't just earn wealth. He became a lawmaker in the very industry he chose. This is the fire you must now enter. You won't be transformed by wishful thinking. You won't be reborn through dabbling. Backup plans won't rebuild you. Only finality will. You must declare, "This is the goal," and then move as if there is no other direction. You must act like there is no exit, because when there is none, you will tap into power the average man will never even sense. Your thinking will sharpen when failure is not an option. You'll listen deeper, act faster, move smarter, because now it must work. That urgency will burn away your excuses. It will strip your distractions. It will refine your standards. And out of that fire, a new version of you will rise. Not one chasing applause, not one waiting to be rescued, but one hell-bent on finishing what he began. Men don't fail because they lack skill. They fail because they leave themselves soft exits. If this doesn't work, I'll do that. Let's give it time and then maybe try something else. That's not belief. That's a quiet negotiation with fear. And let me tell you plainly, you don't negotiate with fear and come out the victor. Remove the door, tear off the hinge, burn the map. Tell your mind, your body, your blood, this is it. We go forward. There is no turning back. You are not here to test the waters. You are here to take the hill, and you will only take it once. Surrender is no longer part of your vocabulary. Now your first declaration in this new life. Speak it slowly. Speak it like it cost you everything. Speak it like a man who severed the rope and threw away the blade. I am the man who moves without retreat. I build without exits. I rise without a second door. Say it again. I am the man who moves without retreat. I build without exits. I rise without a second door, because from this moment on, there is only one plan, the one you chose, and it will be fulfilled, not because it's easy, but because there is no longer a road that lets you walk away. Only forward, only fire, only finish. Look at Henry Ford. He wasn't a man distracted by what others thought or did. He didn't chase backup plans or bend to public trends. He made a decision that the average man would drive, and once that decision was made, he never asked again. He built for the working class. He created a system for the masses. When others pushed for more features or adjustments, he declined. Why? Because the decision was already made, and a man who has already decided does not entertain revisions. He moves only toward completion. Ford's strength wasn't just mechanical, it was mental finality. His unshakable resolve gave his engineers something permanent to rally behind. That clarity became a fixed star in the company's sky, unmoving, even under pressure. Ford never waited for permission to simplify. He didn't host discussions to consider alternatives. He moved forward with such finality that others were forced to adjust their beliefs to match his. That's the kind of certainty that reshapes entire industries. That's the kind of will that leaves its name in the history books. Now ask yourself, have I truly decided, or am I still quietly negotiating with the past? Because the man who's still debating hasn't moved. He may look busy, he may appear productive, but he's not powerful, he's still available to distraction. Decision is not a mood, it is not a phase, it is not the result of analysis. It is a moment, a sentence spoken inside your soul that will not be rewritten. This is what I will do, and I will not change that sentence. Once spoken with fire, it becomes law, and everything that follows, thoughts, movements, sacrifices, must now obey it. When you reach this level of clarity, you begin to call invisible power to your side. Doors open where walls once stood. Strength shows up in places where you once crumbled. Not because the world shifted, but because you did. You stopped asking. You began commanding. You stopped browsing. You began building. And your identity began to harden into something that cannot be ignored. You must now decide, not just with words, but in how you walk, how you plan, how you move. Cut away every question that no longer deserves to follow you. Remove the illusion that you can return to this later. Say your aim aloud and declare that it is now final. This is the end of drifting, the end of detours. This is the beginning of force. Here is your affirmation. Say it like a man already marching toward completion. I decide and do not turn. I choose and do not tremble. I walk forward and do not look back. Say it again. I decide and do not turn. I choose and do not tremble. I walk forward and do not look back. Because the men who shape the world are not those who waited to feel certain. They are the ones who created certainty. Fear cannot survive in a heart where retreat is no longer possible. It cannot feed in the absence of exit. It cannot grow where the door has been sealed shut. Fear lives on options, on the idea that there's still another path, another plan, another way out. And as long as that belief exists, a man will hesitate. He will question his own path. He'll slow his steps. He'll walk forward, but always with one eye looking for escape. And he'll never truly understand what freedom feels like. Fear requires an escape route to survive. It thrives in indecision. It multiplies where there's still uncertainty. It keeps its grip through the lie of later. And that's why so many men are stuck, not because they lack strength, but because they've kept retreat on the table. They may say they're committed. They may say they believe. But if there's still a door open behind them, fear will always find a way in. The only way to kill fear is to cut off its supply. That means eliminating every route that leads backward. That means burning the second option. That means declaring in action and in voice, this is the only way. And when that declaration is true, when it is final, fear begins to starve. Because now the man is unavailable to retreat. He's no longer wondering, what if this doesn't work? He is advancing. And fear cannot follow a man who no longer hesitates. Let's be clear, having no plan B does not just sharpen focus. It slays fear. It summons strength you didn't know you had. It unlocks movement in moments of chaos. It brings clarity when the pressure rises. Not because the path is easier, but because you've removed the exit. That is where real courage lives. Courage isn't the absence of fear, it's the absence of escape. And the man who walks with no way out discovers the strength that was always inside him. Look at John D. Rockefeller. In times of panic and collapse, when others froze, he moved. When fear took hold of markets, he kept building. He bought when others sold. He acted while others waited. He did not panic. He did not pause. Why? Because he was anchored to his mission. He wasn't dabbling in different industries. He wasn't seeking safer ground. His decision had been made and he never looked back. That mental finality gave him calm while others were crushed by fear.
He didn't need an escape. He had already removed it. And in its place, he installed certainty. You must now do the same. Locate the places where fear still speaks. Trace each one to its source. You will always find the same route, an escape that hasn't been burned, a phrase you still allow yourself to say when commitment feels heavy. Let's see how this goes. I'll give it 6 months. If it works,
These aren't strategies, they are cracks in your foundation. And through those cracks, fear walks in. Take inventory. Ask yourself, where am I still holding back? What have I delayed? What am I avoiding? Not because I'm unprepared, but because I haven't removed the exit. Find it, circle it, eliminate it. That action, though small in appearance, will completely shift your internal structure. Because once there is no way out, the mind starts forging new strength in every forward step. This is not theory, it is law. When the mind is fully committed, it rewires. The will hardens, the body obeys, the eyes sharpen, and what once took force becomes natural. Because now it's not a choice, it's the only path. And a singular path brings focused power. And focused power does not ask fear for permission. Now your drill. On a fresh page, right at the top, where fear speaks, escape still exists. Then list every area where you feel hesitation, resistance, tension. Ask yourself, what have I not burned? The backup contact, the fallback job, the plan you told no one about but still cling to, the silent voice that whispers, if this fails, write them, then cross them out boldly, finally. Because you are not here to flirt with destiny. You are here to marry it. Now say your affirmation, not to comfort fear, but to starve it. I do not consult fear. I do not keep escape. I kill the exit. I move with fire. Again, I do not consult fear. I do not keep escape. I kill the exit. I move with fire. Because from now on, you are not a man hoping for courage. You summon it by walking forward with no retreat in sight. Success doesn't arrive by favor. It doesn't show up because you tried. It doesn't yield to polite effort. Success is not awarded. It is enforced. And the man who enforces it isn't arrogant. He's resolved. He no longer debates outcomes. He declares them. He doesn't ask, will this happen? He says it will be done. And when that becomes his tone, success starts to shift in his direction, not because he's entitled, but because he has made himself immovable. That is the power of no plan B. It eliminates waiting. It shatters delay. It closes the door on passivity and replaces it with execution. The man who cannot retreat must produce, and that pressure activates a power most men never touch, not because they lack the gift, but because they always allowed themselves to wait until they felt ready. But readiness is a luxury the committed man no longer needs. He moves without it. He chooses in spite of it. He treats results as required, not optional. The moment you say, I will do this, or rebuild until it is done, you transform your relationship with life itself. You stop being a seeker. You become a builder. You stop dreaming. You begin commanding. And while others observe, hesitate, and overthink, you finish. Let me give you a law. Success requires no apology. Failure permits no alibi. The man who understands this does not explain. He does not ask to be understood. He simply rebuilds. He adapts. He endures. Because he's not married to the result, he's married to the responsibility. And responsibility doesn't wait for permission. It only asks for persistence. When you remove plan B, you remove the illusion of final failure. Setbacks become corrections, not defeat, because you're no longer considering another path. You're either getting the outcome or becoming the man who does. Either way, you win. That is what separates finishers from the many who fade. They are unavailable to failure as a destination. You must become that man, not tomorrow, today. Because if you're still waiting to feel ready, if you're still searching for guarantees, you'll never demand enough from yourself to break through. The man who moves mountains is not the man who studies the most. He's the one who refuses to stop pushing. If the mountain doesn't move the first time, he brings more force, more tools, more fire, because he's not asking for success. He's claiming it. Look to Abraham Lincoln, a man who failed again and again, lost elections, faced crushing criticism, and walked into leadership while the nation fractured. But he didn't bow to the weight. He didn't ask to be spared. He carried the burden and grew stronger under it, because to him the path wasn't optional, it was sacred. And that's how you must now walk. You're not here to experiment with identity. You're here to demand results. You're not here to test the waters. You're here to cross the sea. You're not asking for a chance. You're declaring, this will be done. I will adjust. I will continue. I will complete. And if you say that repeatedly, with fire, with movement, your results will begin to obey. Now demand more from your time. No more lazy mornings. No more reactionary days. No more settling for average. Demand more from your thoughts. No more rehearsing fear. No more soft lies. No more someday, and demand more from your words. Your words are not decoration. They are instruction. They are reinforcement. Speak only what you're prepared to back with action. This is what no plan B creates. A clarity so sharp, it slices through every excuse. And that clarity becomes strength. You begin to see the doors you used to miss.
not because they weren't there, but because now you're finally ready to walk through them. The man who demands success sees what others ignore. He hears signals others silence. He moves before others even decide. He walks as if the outcome is already aligned by the laws of decision, because in truth it is. Now here is your affirmation. Don't say it to hope. Say it to enforce. I do not hope. I declare. I do not ask. I command. I move without return. I don't try. I declare. I don't retreat. I refine. I don't quit. I complete. Again, I don't try. I declare. I don't retreat. I refine. I don't quit. I complete. Because the man who removes the option of escape will always discover the way forward. And now you are that man. You don't find yourself in silence and safety. You forge yourself in the fire of repetition, resolve and loyalty to one vision, not through curiosity, comfort, or convenience, but through unwavering pursuit of one outcome. That's the truth most men will never admit. They think identity arrives through inspiration or time, but identity isn't stumbled upon. It's built. It's forged in resistance. It's hammered in motion. It's born from choosing one path and refusing to abandon it, even when everything tempts you to turn back. The man who eliminates all alternatives doesn't go searching for who he is. He becomes it. No plan B doesn't limit him. It unlocks him. He doesn't ask, who am I? He declares, this is what I must become in order to finish. His decisions aren't governed by feeling. They're governed by vision. And every action reflects the man he is constructing, not the man he once was. That's the secret of burning the second door. It doesn't just close off distractions. It demands development. It makes you level up or get crushed. The habits of the past no longer apply because they don't belong to where you're headed. You stop tolerating what once felt normal, not because of willpower, but because that identity is now incompatible with the future you're building. You don't bend down to fit your surroundings. You rise to meet your calling. And how is that done? Not through bursts of hype, not through chasing motivation, but through consistency and force over time. These are the two laws of internal transformation. Repetition builds the structure, and intensity sets it in stone. Time then hardens the foundation. You don't become forged by variety. You become forged by returning again and again to the same structure until action is no longer a choice, but a reflex. The men who are remembered did not become immortal by doing many things. They did one thing, and they did it so relentlessly that their name outlived them. They chose, they trained, they enforced, and in that enforcement they became immovable. I know because I lived it. I didn't commit to a logo, a business model, or a trend. I gave myself to a code, a philosophy, a set of unbreakable laws that I tested, lived and repeated for decades. Not occasionally, not when it felt good, but relentlessly. There was no detour, no curiosity about alternatives, only conviction. And through that conviction, I didn't just write, I embodied what I wrote.
You must do the same. Choose your aim. Then ask, who must I become to finish it? What must be removed? What must be reinforced? What daily disciplines must be carved into my schedule until the gap between who I am and who I must become no longer exists? Don't write easy answers. Write fire. Write behavior. Write enforcement. Then build it, not as routine, but as a manifestation of who you are. Because when your mission becomes sacred, compromise becomes offensive. When your aim is final, softness becomes disloyalty. You will raise your voice. You will walk with certainty. You will decide with resolve, because your movement is now commanded by the man you're becoming, not the man you used to be. This is the unseen strength of cutting off every exit. It doesn't just sharpen your focus, it aligns your identity. It transforms your future self into your present standard. And once that standard is enforced long enough, you start to believe it. And once you believe it, you stop searching for power and start using it. Now your drill. Write your chosen aim, then create a single sentence that captures the identity required to carry it to completion. If it's I am a man of total follow-through, then your habit becomes I do not leave anything unfinished. If it's I move with absolute clarity, then your pattern becomes I declare my goal every morning before I act. Then build those habits into your day, not as tasks, as commands. Now your affirmation. Speak it not with hesitation, but with weight. I build myself through pursuit. I temper my character through fire. I chase one aim until I am transformed. Again, I build myself through pursuit. I temper my character through fire. I chase one aim until I am transformed. From now on, identity isn't something you discover, it's something you construct, until the world can no longer separate who you are from what you do. The most dangerous lie ever told to a man with potential is that he needs to be safe, that he should keep a cushion, a backup, a soft landing in case he fails. That safety is wisdom, but I tell you now, safety is not wisdom. Safety is decay in disguise. It's hesitation dressed up as strategy. It's fear posing as responsibility. And the longer you keep that net, the longer you will remain halfway built. You were not designed to walk with a net. You were made to walk the wire high, visible, exposed with fire in your lungs and steel in your spine. That's where force is born. That's where courage takes shape. That's where men stop watching and start following. And when you cut the rope, when you remove the safety, something ancient comes alive. It sharpens you. It purifies you. It shifts things in your favor, not because of magic, but because your mind has finally accepted that quitting is no longer available. That safety net has been weakening you, teaching your subconscious to expect softness, training your movements to be slow, numbing your urgency. But the man with no net becomes something rare, something dangerous, something complete. No plan B isn't about hype. It's about heat, pressure, finality. It's about walking into the fire and refusing to leave until the work is done. That pressure will carve a new standard in you. You'll stop drifting. You'll stop wondering if you're ready. You'll move and you'll adapt in motion, because your only job now is to complete or to rebuild until it is done. This is the moment you stop splitting responsibility. No more if I win, I'll own it, but if I fail, I'll say I tried. No, you own the process and the outcome entirely. That's the price of power. Look at the men who shaped history. They didn't ask for guarantees. They didn't wait for certainty. They stepped forward, removed the exits, and made completion the only outcome. Charles M. Schwab, he didn't inherit legacy. He didn't carry credentials, but he was entrusted with responsibility, and he didn't flinch. He didn't ask. He enforced. While others debated, he acted, and that certainty earned him a seat beside empires. This is the law. When you go all in, the world shifts, not out of luck, but in response to force. You must now remove the last remnants of your fallback. Burn the clause, break the pattern, eliminate the phrases that give fear room to speak. You must walk into the moment like this is your only moment, because it is, and when you do, you convert risk into strength. Now your drill. Where have you placed the net? What do you still keep in reserve, just in case? Where have you allowed softness under the name of safety? Write it down, burn it, replace it with one move, one system, one standard. From now on you finish, or you rebuild until it is finished. But you do not fold, you do not look down, you do not explain. And now your affirmation. Say it not with hope. Say it like law. I am not here to play it safe. I am here to play it final. I will not fall. I will build wings mid-air. Again, I am not here to play it safe. I am here to play it final. I will not fall. I will build wings mid-air, because safety is not your ground. Fire is, and you cannot speak with uncertainty and expect to live with conviction. Your words are not decoration. They are blueprint, and the subconscious listens not to what you hope, but what you command. If your sentences are soaked in hesitation, then hesitation is what you will live. Let's see. I'll give it a try. If this doesn't work, these are not harmless. They are rot. They are cracks in your foundation. Every word either builds your identity or breaks it, and the words you speak most often become the habits you follow without thinking. From this point on, eliminate conditional speech. No more backdoor statements. No more escape language disguised as strategy. Your words must now reflect a man who has already made the final decision. This is command language. Not maybe, not if, not try. It says I will. It says it is done. It speaks from identity, not insecurity. And identity, enforced with repetition, is what turns pressure into power. Napoleon Bonaparte did not speak in wishes. He spoke in commands. He never wondered if victory was possible. He spoke as though it had already been secured. His generals never questioned failure because they knew he had removed that thought from his mind completely. He understood that victory begins with speech that allows no alternatives. The world may not have adored him, but it obeyed him, not because of his tactics, but because of his unwavering command. You must now speak as if the world already knows you cannot be stopped, not to impress others, but to solidify your own mental direction. Speak your aim aloud each morning. Recite your 5 affirmations each night. Throughout the day, watch every word you speak. Ask yourself, do these words strengthen my path, or do they comfort hesitation? Take a notebook and title the page, Language of Command. Write 10 sentences that fuel your fire, 10 phrases that build your identity. I complete every task. I start without delay. I do not explain myself. I execute with precision. I act before doubt arrives. I remove all delay. I train before dawn. I uphold my standards every hour. These are not lines to recite once. They are bricks in the foundation of the man you are becoming. Speak them daily, not softly, but with certainty. Breath steady, posture firm, tone unwavering. Now make a second list titled Language of Retreat. Write every soft phrase you've used in the past week.
Be ruthless. I hope it works. Let's wait and see. Maybe I'm not ready. I'll try. I don't know what will happen. Cross each phrase out. Next to it, write a replacement phrase. Install your new speech patterns and commit to them. These are now the only words you allow yourself to speak, because from this moment on, your speech must be sharper than your feelings. You don't need more time. You need clearer language. You don't need more motivation. You need stricter commands. Your words must not reflect mood. They must enforce your mission. Your mission must be backed by verbal law. Spoken often, repeated long, and charged with conviction, these words become your internal operating system. From this, the man is rebuilt. Now speak your affirmation. Speak it as if your old uncertain language stands before you, and your words must reduce it to ashes. I remove uncertain speech. I install the language of power. My words now align with my direction. Again, I remove uncertain speech. I install the language of power. My words now align with my direction. Your voice is no longer commentary. It is command, and the world is beginning to listen. There is a moment when the man you were and the man you must become cannot share the same body. One must fade so the other can rise. That moment requires no ceremony. It begins with a single decision, spoken without emotion, acted on without pause.
From this moment on, there is no retreat, only forward movement, completed tasks, and enforced purpose. That decision is not the start of a new project. It is the birth of a new man. No plan B is not a strategy. It is identity reconstruction. It is removing the old self, the one that drifts, doubts, explains, and wavers. So a man of clarity, enforcement, silence, and completion can be installed. When you remove exits, fallbacks, soft phrases, and emotional bargaining, your mind becomes unified. And a unified mind cannot be bent. You are no longer a man who waits, no longer a man who reconsiders, no longer a man who watches and wonders. You are the man who moves because he said he would. This transformation can't be partial or casual. You must declare again and again that your life is governed by a new code. No retreat, no softness, no compromise. You do not consult your feelings. You consult your aim. You do not slow down for comfort. You obey the fire you lit in silence. You do not return to the man who broke promises to himself. That man is gone. He served his time, taught his lesson, and now he's buried. From now on, your thoughts follow a new law. You no longer rehearse fears. You rehearse what you will build. You no longer imagine worst-case scenarios. You envision finished blueprints, executed with precision. You no longer allow weakness to speak without challenge. You catch it, correct it, and replace it with repetition of purpose. Your time now follows new discipline. Hours aren't yours. They are containers for structure, blocks of obedience. You don't let time pass. You assign it. You don't hope to be productive. You schedule proof of your identity. Each hour must answer to your final decision. Your habits enforced with absolute clarity must never drift back to old ways. You become intolerant of your former self. Your new self wakes with fire, declares his aim, moves before the sun rises, works without applause, speaks without explanation, finishes what he begins. Your speech, cleansed of softness and fallback, becomes law, not performance. You speak only what directs your mind, affirms your belief, and commands your next move. All else is cut. All else is dead. The man who chooses no plan B does not waste breath. He speaks only when it builds. Now your final challenge for the next 30 days. Live as if there is no way back. Make decisions faster than you feel ready. Move before you fully plan. Speak only from the voice of certainty. And when the old voice rises, the voice of caution, moderation, or retreat, you respond not with analysis, but with action. You correct it in movement. You break it by walking straight into what you once feared. Every day, remind yourself, the bridge is burned. The old path is blocked. The former self has no vote. You no longer ask life for permission. You enforce your new identity every hour until your success becomes inevitable. Do not wait for the world to respond. Respond first. Do not wonder if this will work. Work until it is done. Do not hesitate when the fire calls. Step into it, because the fire that once frightened you is now your foundation. You will either burn indecision away or burn everything that no longer belongs. You have decided. In that decision, you have become unshakable. Now your final affirmation. Say it from your core. I walk forward. I finish what I start. Again, I walk forward. I finish what I start. Because the man who does not retreat is the man who cannot be stopped.